Good morning. The Craven County Board of Commissioners will come to order. Madam Clerk, would you please be kind enough to read the roll?
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Liner?
Here.
Commissioner McCabe?
Here.
Commissioner Sampson? Commissioner Tyson?
Here.
Vice Chair Dacey?
Here.
Chairman Mark? Excuse.
Okay, Mr. McCabe, if you'd be kind enough to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father, I ask that you bless this board as we seek help with our affairs this morning as we proceed with the people's business. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us to make the best use of what you have provided to us. While we may be of diverse opinion, we wish to understand one another and reach agreement to make better lives for all. Please share your wisdom with us on this blessed day so that we may do what is right for the people of Craven County. Thank you for your blessing. Amen. First order of business is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, the consent agenda is up for discussion. We have the minutes of August 6th, the Mumfest proclamation, tax releases and refunds, economic development request for a public hearing for Project Grouse, economic development request for public hearing on Project Mockingbird. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, well, we'll take a roll call vote.
Okay. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Liner?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Dacey?
Yes. And can we approve the agenda? Thank you very much, Mr. Liner. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee report. Mr. Geisler?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Peter Geisler, Chairman of the Craven County Nursing Home Advisory Committee. We're appointed by you, our commissioners, to visit and assist the Ombudsman in evaluating the skilled nursing facilities in Craven County. The committee at present consists of 8 commissioner-appointed members: David Dietz, Margie Dew, Susan Layton, Linda Laley, Norma Mora, Ann Silvera, Glenn Carroll, and myself. I am chairman, and Linda Laley is the secretary. In July, we learned that Renee Key, our ombudsman, had taken a new position with the Department of Social Services in Greene County. And Angela Pigeon, the former ombudsman, would again be working with us. We also accepted the resignation of Josh Humphreys, who had a full schedule of hours working with the foster care program. We visit all the skilled nursing facilities in the county: Bayview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, Cherry Point Bay Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, River Point Craven Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, Pruitt Health News, and Pruitt Health Trent. A total of 5 facilities and 491 beds. Formal visits are done on a quarterly basis and vary in both sequence and time. Several members make additional visits during the year. 2 members, Linda Laley and Norma Mora, sing with a chorus that frequently performs in nursing homes. And I make sporadic visits to meet with patients for which I had taken care of in the past during my nursing career. During the quarterly visits, we meet with the residents, their visitors, and staff of the facility, observing the level of care, condition of the facility, and the availability of activities. In this way, we attempt to determine the degree of satisfaction of the residents and of their families. Resident care is the most essential criteria for determining the quality of our local nursing homes. This is dependent upon proper staffing levels and skilled professional staffing. Several of the facilities in the area have had significant turnover in staff. However, this has become somewhat stabilized. The availability of certified nursing assistants, CNAs, remains a challenge. A recent article in the New York Times cited staffing problems, especially in the CNA level, as a major concern nationally. The best CNAs are usually in nursing school and require special scheduling to accommodate their class schedules. At present, CNA staffing is acceptable. We've been monitoring a cleanliness program at Pruitt-Trent. This two-story facility is the largest of the facilities we visit and has had problems in the past. They have recently hired a new housekeeper, and there has been a noticeable improvement. Both Pruitt facilities have experienced laundry problems, but this now seems to have been rectified. As I mentioned last year, many of the nursing homes in the area are no longer able to accept VA patients. Legislation by the federal government requires any nursing home that accepts VA patients must meet the federal pay scale and provide the federal benefits package for all employees, including all federal holidays, insurance, and pension coverage. This would result in a major financial burden that would have to be shared with all patients. Since many are receiving Medicaid, this would compound the problem and cost for the county. There is still a facility in Carteret County that is still able to accept them, since they had just recently signed on to the program. However, this may probably no longer be an option. At our quarterly staff meetings in the previous year, we've had presentations to assist us in our mission. In January, there was a presentation about the use of social media and its impact on residents' privacy. In April, there was a training session covering identification and prevention of abuse and residents' rights. In July, Andy Reese with the East Carolina Council on Aging discussed a program designed to assist those residents that were still able to function in an independent fashion. We were asked to make sure that independent living was covered with all residents during their care plan meetings if their care plan indicated it was a possibility. This also will impact our care level because this means the residents that remain in the nursing home are going to require more complex and more involved care because the walkie-talkies are now hopefully going home for home care. In October, Angela presented a session covering new training for the Community Advisory Committee members, incorporating the changes set forth in House Bill 248. This includes the application, training, and installation of new members. Once again this year, several of our members attended the special presentation given by the Council on Aging, the Attorney General's Office, and the local law enforcement agencies covering elder abuse, especially financial fraud and various scams directed at our elderly population. The committee has appreciated the outstanding support we have received from the Craven County Commissioners over the past year and look forward to working with you in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Are there any questions?
I'd just like to make a comment. I was just listening at the report, and I see the report. It's saying that sometimes some of our homes don't have the amount of care or employees that's needed, if I'm right now. That's what I understood it, that they don't have the amount of, at all times, of employees that needed to service the residents at the place. Because I have found out that since I've been going there, which I've been going there a mighty long time, that some of the patients really not getting the care that they deserve. It seems like they're giving some of the patients, keeping them on medicine and keeping them in the beds instead of letting them get up and get around. I made this comment to one of the resting home also. And also, we find that a lot of family members don't go see the parents or the kindred while they're in there. Sometimes they don't see them in. When they put them in there one time, next time is when they die. They won't see them then. So it's a hardship on people that go into the rest home, because it's bad when you is locked up. This might well say you're locked up, because nobody come take you out, you're not going anywhere. And that's for the protection of the patient. And I just hope that a lot of organizations will begin to visit and just see these nursing homes for yourselves and see how people are being treated in these nursing homes. I know on one occasion they had closed one up on, let me see what's the name of this place, up there by the community college, had closed that place down, part of it down for a while. And we need to really stress more care for these senior citizens who are in these homes. Because any of us, you don't have to be old to go to the rest home. There's a lot of young people in there too. So we need to make sure that these people are getting the right type of attention. I know the committee has been doing the best they could, because a lot of times we didn't even have enough people on the committee to visit different homes. So we're thankful for what y'all are doing, but we like to include the public to go out there sometime, some of your spare time, and see about these senior citizens.
Yeah.
Even spend time with them. I was out there the weekend. They was playing, get ready to play games out there, and don't let them think that they already did. Give them some enjoyment. They can play bingo or play some other type of games out there, and they seem to enjoy it. And then sometimes the churches go out there and have service out there. That's really a good thing for the people, because they feel like they are cared for. We should really take care of our own, there's no doubts about it.
Visitations are important. Sometimes our visits are some of the only visits some of these people get. When we enter the nursing home, we always check the staffing, which has to be posted. And then we check against the number of residents in the facility at that time to make sure that the staffing is adequate. And usually, at least one visit, we'll go into one of the rooms, we'll push the call button and check to see how long it takes for response. After 10 minutes, that's neglect. And so we do check. Now, the facility that was closed down was assisted living, so we don't cover that. We just cover the skilled nursing homes in which they actually need skilled nursing care. But yes, visitation is very, very important. If you ever have a chance, it's a good idea to visit just to see what's going on.
I was in one of the homes at one time, and I just happened to be passing one of the rooms, and a guy was sitting up in the wheelchair, and he was almost to fall out the wheelchair. And I would go in there and try to help him, because you don't never know about going to court, because a lot of times people will sue you about that. But my daughter, she went in there because her being the doctor, so she went in there. So she was halfway protected being the doctor. But the guy, if she hadn't went down, he fell on the floor. I don't know where he had pressed the button. I just happened to be walking by his room. So it's something that we need to think about. And I know the committee can't do everything. All you can do, go by there, like your schedule said, and visit. I don't know where you visit, once a month or twice a month. But it's just a blessing to have you go by there even once a month.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
first, thank you for what you and your committee do. And you may not be able to answer this question, this may be for Angela in answering. One of the things I think is brought up to me a lot is about the rehab within our nursing home facilities, that we don't have adequate beds, enough of them here in Craven County. Do they ever talk to you about that from the administration at the nursing homes about, are there any plans to add additional rehab rooms? Because a lot of, nowadays, doctors are sending folks out of the hospital to rehab, so.
Physical rehab, physical therapy, occupational therapy, I have not seen a shortage in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other aspects of rehab, alcohol and drug addiction, things like that, I don't really think the facilities are set up to do that.
And I won't talking about the drug part, I was talking about the physical therapy part, rehab.
They have, the rehab people are a separate entity that come in, like if you go to the emergency room, those aren't the doctors from the hospital, that is a group of emergency physicians. And there is a company of rehab that covers all of the facilities in the area. And I have not heard that, in fact, I had a hip replacement when I was director of nursing, and I checked myself into the facility, first to see how they were as far as rehab went, and second to see how the CNA care and the rest of the dietary and everything else went. And it was hell for them while I was in there, but it gave me a good insight to see what was going on.
Thank
And, yeah, I'm walking, talking, so the hip works, so I guess the rehab was pretty good.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Leonard.
Sir, what would be your number one concern for your committee for the coming year?
Getting good professional CNAs.
That'll work.
There are two types, well, there are three types of CNAs. There are nursing students that want to get the experience and have to have a year's experience to get into nursing school. There are, and I know several of them, that their educational possibilities are not there, but they really, really are dedicated to helping people and want to be of use. And then there's the group that, I don't know why you pay $600 to take a course, $120 to take a test, to get a job that A, you don't want to go to, you don't want to do. It just doesn't make sense. But there is a group that unfortunately, it says that they're a CNA,
Right.
and
Could
in
care
order to
less.
get benefits, they have to work. And then they go because it's a job.
Okay.
And we'd like to have the first two.
Next question. The VA issue, has anybody approached VA for a waiver on that? And if not, can anybody give me the directive or the order that states we have to go that way so I can pursue it?
I had talked to one of the administrators, and she was the one who told me that there's no way it can be afforded.
Well, I'm sure there's no way.
I do not know how they are getting by in Carteret. I know from my experience with the commissioners in Carteret that they are not funding
No,
federal benefits
But
at
if-
big.
I can understand, there's no way that you're gonna meet federal pay schedule
Right.
on the outside. That's just not gonna happen. But I'm looking for what federal directive came down through the VA that dictated we had to go that way, so I can push it back up. So if somebody could get that to me, I would appreciate it.
Because when we had the VA, they would come through annually for an inspection.
Yep.
And they'd check
I mean, that's just
everything.
another eye out there, most
But
definitely.
then suddenly, because I knew several patients that were pulled from the facility,
Well,
and because they had to go to Durham.
it's like everything else that DC does. It's all in-house and all in a closed-door session, and they know nothing. So they don't see the reality of what it actually did. So if you could give me that, then I can push it on the side. Thank you.
Commissioner Leonard, I think you're onto something there, because you know, we're starting to see, just through standard medical benefits, the decisions by VA and Congress to want to reach out to non-VA providers when the maximum capacity by the VA has already been hit. And this would certainly, it seems to me, fall in line. If that's what we're finding. Now, you're saying that there are some beds available in Carteret County, but presumably that's gonna,
Dry up.
Well, I don't know if beds are available, but they have taken VA
okay,
patients.
one home, one home.
And, yeah, the VA can be very complex. I used to live in, near Salem, Virginia, and they have a big facility there that was built by FDR. And they were going to turn about 4 of the buildings over to rehabilitate American Indians. When the VA had veterans online waiting to get into other facilities, so I don't know how they're,
Well, it's another good example. I think the public may be aware, the public may not be aware, but the VA put out an advertisement in Carteret County. They're looking to put another medical clinic in Craven and Carteret, in addition to what's already in Morehead City. So I'm involved in looking at that and trying to get that. So VA is reaching out, and, because our veterans need it, so, but this just shoots them in the foot by taking the care away, because the VA home in Kinston is full.
right? They have to go to Durham.
Right. Sir, I appreciate it, thank you.
Anything else? Yeah. No? Okay, sir, if I could ask, are there any changes to your board that you need to see that might need to be done from a statutory perspective, so that we can plan to help advise our delegation? Is there anything that needs to be done? Are there any concerns that you've got that we can possibly be helpful with you in and getting resolved, just from a functional perspective?
I think basically, right now, we have 8 staff, and they are dedicated. They do attend the meetings, they do attend the inspections and so on. I can't anticipate anything right now.
Okay. Do you think that the model works well? And I'm asking this not necessarily, we may have another issue that comes up here in the county in the not-too-distant future that I'm thinking perhaps taking the model of your experience here and putting it into another setting where you get community involvement, participation from residents of Craven County that can kind of serve as an ombudsman, an advisory. I mean, these people can't speak for themselves oftentimes, and they need a voice.
It would be nice if a non-inspection, non-disciplinary regulatory group would just visit, not necessarily affiliated with any specific church or something like that, but just the citizens group. They would just visit the facilities, chat with the people, be a friend, not postulating or anything like that, but just, how's it going?
I mean, oftentimes hospice has got people that will go around and visit with folks that are.
Hospice is hospice.
Well, yeah, I recognize that, but my point is that you've got folks that are volunteering in a community that will go to visit with folks, and that's sort of a.
Because one of the reasons I used to go frequently to Cherry Point Bay was, there was a fellow in there that had been in 5 facilities, and he was a ward of the county in Carteret. He saw the social worker, maybe quarterly or whatever. When I was a nurse, I was seeing him all the time, but I would go in every Monday, make sure you got a haircut, make sure you got, and otherwise, he'd probably been in a 6th facility because he'd just go bonkers. And so to have somebody that would just visit, maybe once a week or something like that, helps a lot of these people that have some of them will have no visitors until we go. And we don't go by that often.
Well, sir, thank you very much for your dedication and service. This board appreciates it greatly. Mr. Antry?
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the time of year that I present the annual tax collection settlement. The 2018 tax bills were mailed out about a month ago, not quite a month ago. And before I'm charged for the collection of those, I need to settle with you the collection of the 2017 taxes. I would like to draw your attention to the very bottom of the report, which lists the net taxable valuation at $447,213,030. This amount does not include the value of registered motor vehicles, which will appear in the audit. This is just the taxable valuation of the real and personal property for which the tax collector is charged for collection. You realize, of course, that motor vehicle taxes are now collected by DMV, but they do appear in the audit when it is presented later this year. Now, this number is about $113 million higher than it was last year. So there was an increase in the taxable valuation. With that said, I would like to present the net levy, the bottom three numbers on the report that are most significant to you. The net levy for the 2017 tax year was $47,794,135.24. Of that amount, we collected $47,448,280.11, leaving an uncollected balance as of June 30th, 2018, of $345,855.13. This results in a collection percentage of 99.28%, which is, I'll point out, 0.02% lower than it was last year. But still, we think a good collection percentage. And to achieve this is not the effort of just one person or one department. There are many people who I need to thank for their support. First of all, the Board of Commissioners for allowing us to do the job we do. Mr. Veit and his staff, Craig Warren and Dennis Holton, all have had a big hand in the successes that we've had. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank the staff that I work with and introduce to you Cindy Glover, who's our tax collection manager for the department. She's taking over a lot of the responsibilities of tax collection for the department. So unless the board has any questions about these numbers, I'd ask that you accept this settlement and enter it into your minutes.
Do you want us to also adopt the order of collection for taxes for 2018, or is that a separate motion? Okay,
Should be a separate.
very good. Are there any questions?
I have one question, Mr. Chairman. How much did you say the real property valuation went up, 100 and what million?
$113,408,000.
And I know that obviously when somebody builds a new home, it goes up. Somebody does an addition, it goes up. Somebody subdivides a parcel and increases, it goes up. What other things can tick and uptick? 'Cause
Well, that's basically
pretty much
covers the addition is new construction, land splits, development, that sort of thing.
has it been ticking up this year? I mean, is that a little bit higher percentage?
Just a little bit higher. I don't remember the increase from the previous year, but it seems like it was 90 million, so it has gone up a bit. And you know, we're preparing for the 2020 revaluation, and that work will begin in earnest next year.
Well,
Our
if
most
it was
recent-
90, that's more than a bit. That's like 10%
Oh,
or more,
well,
12. So that's a good sign, is what I'm saying.
yes.
Anything further? Is there a motion to accept the settlement of the 2017 tax levy and enter that into the minutes?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Mr. Antry, do you want to talk to us about the adoption of the order for the collection of the 2018 taxes?
Yes, sir. This is a routine matter that is required by the board. I think the statute for that is in GS 105-321B. And this is the charge for the collection of the 2018 tax levy. So I'd ask that the board also adopt that and enter it into its minutes as well.
Is there a motion to?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the order of the collection of the 2018 taxes and enter it into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Antry.
Thank you.
Water Department, resolution for local water supply plan. Mr. Gerard. Thank you, sir. Do we have this?
Yes, sir. I have. It was included in your.
Yeah, we've got it.
There you are.
We've got a resolution as well.
Speaking of water, after all that storm we had last night, I thought I'd sit down and do a few calculations. Probably already know this, but for 1 inch of rain on an acre, you're looking at 27,000 gallons of water. Probably 70% of that will be runoff. I'm looking at you because we'll probably have some areas that we have exposed pipes and some culverts that are gonna need some more work with NCDOT. And I've gotten to know those guys pretty good by now. Yes, I come today to have this approved, which is it's really a routine thing. And I've got the letter ready to go. As soon as you approve it, then I'm gonna get it in the mail today, and we'll finish our obligation according to NCGS 143-355-1. So I'm asking for this resolution to be approved.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution as presented to the board?
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded for the resolution approving the local water supply plan. And is there any discussion? Commissioner Liner?
Just one question. Back here under sales, you've got Cove City listed for buy-in. You've got New Bern listed for buy-in. But manager, did we not have a break in Havelock that we had to sell?
Yes,
Then
sir.
what,
Correct. This is the 2017 statistics.
This fiscal year 2017.
That break in Havelock happened in 18.
okay.
So yes, we did. And those, Cove City will be one that's a regular connection.
Right, I
Every
understand
day.
that one,
The
right.
New Bern in this case was they had a break and
Right.
we hooked them up to our system for
I just
16
knew we
days.
had had a break in
Yeah.
Havelock and,
So next year, you'll see the Havelock on
Okay.
house report.
thank you, sir.
Sir, if I could ask, we see a spike here in September, October, and November timeframe in 2017. Can you explain why that spike is occurring?
Mr. Chair,
Occurred?
may I, since
Yes,
Al
sir.
wasn't here, let me,
Oh, well, of course.
he can fill in
Oh,
the details.
come on, let's give him a shot.
Yeah, well, I feel like this one was sort of unique. That was the time we were doing our plant startup.
Exactly.
So we were running a lot of water in to flush the lines. We were
Okay.
doing a whole lot of pressurizing the system, making sure everything worked. So we did have to use a good bit of water then. But you see it came back down in November once we got everything up and running. So that spike is purely the opening of the plant. Al, I'll let you.
Is that what you'd have said?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I would have. I think so.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Social Services Budget Amendment, Mr. Merritt. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, County Commissioners, County Manager. We bring before you today a budget amendment. I actually coming on behalf of the Craven Aging and Planning Board. This budget amendment is to amend the budget in that we received additional funds once the state budget came out, and you will see how that was broken down in the budget amendment that's in your packet. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
Okay, we do need a roll call on this, but is there a motion to
So
approve?
moved. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes once your name is called.
Okay. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Liner?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Dacy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Health Department, Scott Harrelson.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Bringing 3 items to you this morning, 2 fee approvals and 1 budget amendment. The first fee approval is for 7 different vaccines, and we periodically check the cost of vaccines. They have increased, so we have rounded up to the nearest dollar on these 7, and have gained Board of Health approval here this morning to answer any questions you may have on these vaccines and the fee approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. And approval of the fee change recommendation has been approved.
Thank you. Next up, 340B pricing for our family planning contraceptives. These contraceptives are fluctuating in price quarterly. We spoke with the state consultants for family planning program, and they said, take a look at your quarterly, average them up, and then annually come for an adjustment. And that's what we're doing today. Basically, we have looked at these different methods, and we have adjusted the cost accordingly to come and request this fee approval.
Is there a motion to approve the fee change recommendation?
So moved.
Been moved
Second.
and seconded. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Liner?
Make sure I understand this to be consistent with what I do. The contraceptive program is for the family planning only. It has nothing to do with the young men and ladies that come in that's underage and get contraceptives. Is that correct?
Well, these changes are required by the Title X Family Planning Guidelines. That's what 100% of these are.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with the other program. As far as young lady comes in, wants contraceptive, doesn't go through the parents, just comes to you and wants contraceptive.
Well,
Is this the same?
it could be. Technically, it could be.
Okay. All right.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
That was
Appears that the
coming.
ayes have it. The ayes have it. The fee change recommendation has been approved.
Thank
The
you,
budget
gentlemen.
amendment?
Budget amendment, this one's exciting. This is for our mobile dental unit, which, last I heard, the people who are building it for us in Ohio say it should be delivered on August the 22nd. And that's just in time for the school year, which is great timing. And we had paid, if you recall, half up front, and then this is the remainder that's to be paid hopefully later this month on August the 27th when the unit arrives. And it's, the total amount we're requesting, budget amendment is $247,160.
Mr. Chair, just a note, in the revenue side of the budget amendment, there's a $100,000 installment. That is the sale of our existing unit to Martin Terrell Wayne Health District, Scott, which
Washington,
could not
yeah.
take place until after our unit is received, because we don't want to have any downtime. So they'll be coming to get it.
Okay,
But this is accounting for that revenue.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded that the budget amendment allowing for the carryover remaining balance of dental trailer be taken care of. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please read the roll?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Liner?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Dacey?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Earlston, is there anything else today?
No, sir.
Are you
Thank
sure?
very much. That's it. That's all I've got.
Okay, Finance Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have one item on the agenda for your consideration this morning. That includes a budget amendment for the fire service districts. At the June 4th, 2018 meeting, the Board of Commissioners approved matching equipment grants for the following volunteer fire departments. Those included Little Swift Creek at $24,304.43, Dover at $21,405, Fort Barnwell, $30,000, Township Number 9, $9,000, Vanceboro, $12,900. All grant matches were approved from the general fund with the exception of Vanceboro's. Those were approved from the that fire service district's reserve on the county's books. Due to the timing that the requests and the approval came forward, those were not able to be rolled into the original budget going into this fiscal year. At this time, I'd like to ask for the board's approval to get these funds appropriated.
Is there,
They will not be dispersed on until we get the proper invoices showing their purchases.
make that motion.
So, second it.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the budget amendment as provided by the budget director. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye or nay when your name is called upon by the clerk.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Linor?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Dacey?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Appointments. Appointments will be effective immediately unless otherwise specified. Okay, we've got pending appointments, the Adult Care Home Advisory Committee, 4 vacancies. And I say these as I'm certain that Chairman Mark would say them to encourage the viewing audience to participate in the volunteer committees. And so we've got vacancies on the Adult Care Home Advisory Committee. We heard a little bit about that today. The Craven County Board of Adjustment, we've got 3 vacancies. Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council, 1 vacancy. And the Nursing Home Advisory Council, we've got 4 vacancies.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
on the Craven County Board of Adjustments, at your place, I believe, or will be handed out to you,
It's up there.
at your place is a spreadsheet of all the people who qualify for that seat, because it is very specific, having to be in the boundaries. There are 3 vacancies. I mean, it very rarely meets, but at the time it needs to meet, it needs to be ready to meet. So I would ask you to please look through that list. If you see names of people you know that you'd like to suggest to staff, we'll reach out and see if they're interested.
Thank you very much. Current appointments, Craven County Board of Adjustments. Cynthia Riley has submitted her application, and it's contained in attachment 8B for the appointment to the Craven County Board of Adjustment. You folks finding it?
I don't believe her application's in the agenda.
She didn't get in. Okay. It's behind the planning.
It's
in
behind
the-
what?
It's at the very
Planning.
last.
It's the last one.
Oh,
behind
it's
the
the last
planning.
one.
It got put in
Okay.
behind planning.
Okay.
I mean, at the very last sheet of paper
You
in
still
that
got it?
section.
No.
Very good.
And Miss Riley does qualify for the seat based on her address or where she lives.
And she has served before. She's just been off for a few years.
Okay. Does anybody wish to nominate? Over by the airport.
I'll make the nomination. Nobody
Okay.
has objections.
All right. Nominations do not require a second, so unless there's any objection, Ms. Riley will be reappointed. Very good. The Craven County Planning Board. The board has been apprised of the resignation of Richard Mayer on the Craven County Planning Board. The following citizens have submitted their application of interest for the appointment to this board: Jessica Spencer, Carrie Callagher, Sharon Marion, and Jeffrey O'Neill. And there's 1 vacancy.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but based on the methodology the commissioners have used, this appointment would fall under Commissioner Liner, as it is a Township 6 appointment. It's where Mr. Mayor lived, and I believe, Commissioner Liner, you were the original appointee of Mr. Mayor. So I don't know if the board still wants to do it, sort of have 7, 1 from each commissioner district or not, but that's where this one falls.
Well, if you wouldn't mind holding this one so I can get with Sharon Marin, because I don't know her.
Okay. Upcoming appointments, Riverbend Planning Board and the Fire and Tax Commission. We will be taking those up at our next meeting. And I guess that is it with respect to appointments. If we can move on to the county attorney's report. Well, thank you very much. County manager's report?
Can't believe y'all let Jenny get off so easy here. He's got like half a meeting left, and there's gotta be something you gotta,
Oh, we'll hang him up.
yeah, we'll figure
We want
something
to do
out.
it in the evening.
Couple things. Want to make the board aware, beginning Thursday, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Annual Meeting will be taking place in Hickory. We'll have a contingent from Craven County going. If there are issues you're concerned about that we need to be speaking with the leadership up there about, please let us know before Wednesday, and we'll be happy to do so. If not, it looks like a great agenda, a lot of different seminars and things that will help us see what other counties are doing. Second, kind of a longer issue, wanted to bring up the website between the Convention Center and the Tourism Development Authority. As you know, we'll be on September 14th beginning a new relationship with that group. The website is jointly created over the last 20 years to showcase both the tourism assets of Craven County and also the Convention Center. Quite frankly, there's a brand that's been created related to both products, the Visit New Bern brand. Now, where this gets a little strange is because we were the contractual organization for the TDA for the last 20 years, we created the website, the content as a third-party administrator. That website is owned by Craven County. It is assigned to our IT department, registered to Dennis Holton via the Craven County IT department. At this point, there is some conversation from the TDA that they certainly would like to continue the use of that brand. I met with them a couple weeks ago. I wish Chairman Mark was here. He was an attendee. Craig Warren was an attendee. And so there's really three ways this can go, and they're simple. One is you keep it for yourself and the Visit New Bern, and it becomes a Convention Center page, and they create a new one. The second one is you give it to them, and you create a new page at the Convention Center. And lastly is this concept the TDA's come up with, which is a joint use, sort of a lease. They would continue to lease a portion of the website we own. We would maintain the convention side. They would maintain the tourism and the retirement side, which they call the leisure side. They would want to continue using the vendor, which is High Tide, a local internet website type company here in New Bern. I don't, at this point, don't have a lot of specifics because I wanted to get a direction from you on where to go. If you're interested in one of the three, I certainly can begin the path. I did find out it's about $12,000 if we wanted to create our own website here and get it, basically where it is now on our own platform with Civic Plus. If you're interested in the share, I'd like to go back to the TDA folks who we met with the first time and kind of drill down about what exactly the cost would be, what the responsibility would be, who would have say, and things like that. My only fear and the reason I'm asking you, kind of putting you on the spot today is September 14th is coming quick, and we have to have a decision prior to September 14th to sort of solve this problem. So I'm looking at direction from you today on which way to go.
Do we have anything set up where you could pull that website up on
Sure.
the screen?
Gene, would you mind driving for us?
Jack, is the next meeting too late? Because I didn't bring that paperwork, the email that you
The
sent.
next
for the-
meeting's not too late,
Okay.
but if you could give me limited direction today, I can come a lot better prepared on September the 4th.
Well, I gave you my limited
Right.
directions.
Correct.
Okay.
I need to hear it
Okay.
from the group here.
Okay, so the URL is visitnewbern.com.
Correct. And so this has a couple components. Gene, if you'll just go to the little box on the left there, the pull down bar. Thank you. So it goes through the different types of functions that they serve, things to do, dining and drinks, where to shop, where to stay, about. And then groups and meetings would be where you'd see the convention folks, Gene, if you click on that. So obviously, convention center here, go goes into some videos and things we do. And then if you'll click on Commission Energy. Also talks about wedding, the tourist center down in Havelock. And then we get in here, and here's sort of your different ways you can go. Your event planners, that's where our package would be, that someone would fill out for a reservation, telling us what types of items they would need. Our calendars here, services we provide, our caterers, and then our contacts and maps. And each of these has different links within it. You can just click on the calendar, for example. So as you can see, we tell folks what's going on at the convention center that way.
Who adds content to it now?
Mainly through our staff at High Tide.
All right. Which one?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
I mean, we create some content, they create some content. We do,
Well, what would we create content for other than the convention center?
that's all that we create for
That's
them.
it?
Well, I take that back. I mean, we're creating content because we're under contract to do the tourism side at this point too, until September 14th. So we're working in conjunction with High Tide and a marketing committee on the TDA to come up, so go back, please.
You go to the home page.
Get back to the home page. So there's videos, Commissioner Tyson, as you can see, advertisements. There's a social media component that goes along with this. I believe, Gene, have they made this website into an app as well? A cell phone app? I believe they did.
So the contention is what?
Well, it's,
I mean, the county owns the website, owns the URL.
correct.
Um,
So the point of, here's the, I guess, the nuts and bolts of it. There's been a large investment to create this brand. Regardless of how it's created now, this is 20 years worth of work over time, building the Visit Newbern brand. That's what everybody decided they wanted to brand when the convention center and the TDA partnered 20 years ago, and they just built and built and built. The TDA folks I met with believe the separation and creating two separate brands is gonna be confusing to the free world. At some point, you're gonna have this new brand that's either them or the convention center, then you're gonna have the Visit Newbern brand, which will be slightly different because some component won't be there. So their compromise was, well, even though we're not going to be sort of arm in arm anymore, let's keep the brand together. You do your part, which is this, you pay for this, you consult with High Tide, we sit at the table and talk about it.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Cameraman. When it says, when you say, you do your thing, are you talking about you continue to maintain the convention center aspect of the?
Right, of this page.
And then they do everything else?
They would maintain the leisure side and the retirement side. So it's three main parts. We take one, they take two.
They don't want ownership of the page, or do they, or?
Well, I mean, I have to look at the attorney. I mean, that's sort of a point of
Okay.
contention now. I don't know how much you want to delve into that.
Yeah, we don't want to go into too much detail at this point, but I do believe the TDA maintains that they have ownership of the website. The county believes it has ownership of the website. So I believe this is more of a compromise than anything else.
I mean, it just would seem to me the logical thing to do would keep the status quo, except the county no longer does anything outside as far as code development and all, outside of the county website. And how about the Havelock component? Is
That would be-
Havelock on, I didn't see a link to
Yeah.
them. Are they on?
Go back to the main page, Gene. It's at the top. It was,
They're pulled out.
I mean, who has been,
Havelock right there.
who creates and maintains that part? Is the county doing that
I
as well?
think, again, I think the marketing committee has a footprint there that covers both the Havelock and the leisure side. I feel uncomfortable answering because I don't really know specifically how that page was created. You know, moving forward, obviously, in the new relationship, Havelock's gonna have the same seat on the TDA they've always had and the same seat on the marketing committee, so I'm sure they'll have the access they need to do that. Commissioner Line, I don't know, you represented Havelock at one point, did,
It was the marketing.
Marketing
handled
committee
The whole
did.
thing, yeah.
okay.
Well, I think that's kind of an important component, but I mean, it seems that we need to work together. I know that's a platitude that's overused, but, I don't see any reason to split everything off at this point in time if you've got 20 years of branding, because then they're gonna have to start from scratch, more or less, or we're gonna have to start from scratch, and it just would make more sense to whatever contract that could be crafted, that, and Jimmy should do that before he leaves, I think. In a spare time if necessary, but whatever could be crafted, to keep the status quo. I mean, if we own it, if we want to fight that battle, that's up to the board, I guess, but, there may be quite a way to solve that issue, I would hope.
I think if you're interested in the cooperative agreement, it sort of takes the ownership issue away, because you both still have a use, and I think in the agreement, Jimmy, we can talk about that. I mean, it's still not answered, I mean, some point that's gonna come back, but at least September 14th, we have a path forward to work together. I mean, what I'd like to do is, if you guys are interested in the cooperative effort, I'd like to go back and get some numbers and really understand how it's gonna work, between now and September 4th.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Tyson. I think we don't, to work with them, we've got a lot invested in it, and I think it will hurt us in the long run if we try to go a different option. So I'd say joint effort.
I say go ahead or work together, cause no need of people being in the same county and can't work together. That's gonna create another problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Our
great.
goal here has always been to allow, to provide a pathway for the TDA to flourish on its own without the encumbrance of government.
Correct.
And I don't see why we would want to do anything that would diminish that opportunity for them. But yet, obviously, we've got to protect our own positioning here with respect to the investment of the convention center. But
Okay, I got it.
Commissioner Liner, I know that you wanted to hold off a bit on some stuff, but are you comfortable with this step?
Oh, this step, yeah,
Okay.
I'm uncomfortable with the other step, but,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
no, this is.
All right, I'll get more information and bring it back on September the 4th. Just to sort of end that issue, and I wanted to look at Craig to make sure he's hearing me here. I found some statistics, or Craig was sharing some statistics with me I found very interesting. The month of July 2018 was the single greatest collection of occupancy tax in our history of the TDA in the county. The single largest amount we had ever collected, so I thought that was
What
interesting.
months?
What month would that have been, Craig? That was your July report? That would have been June. So, no anomaly there, because there was, just a lot of stuff going on, no hurricane or interesting. So, and then the last fiscal year was the second best year in totality that we'd ever had. Yeah, so,
And I just think this is gonna be a huge opportunity for the TDA and the county, because our county convention center is aging, and it needs the attention of the director there more so ever than they dedicating half their time to the convention center and half to the TDA. To me, it wasn't the best business model to start with, and I think that they're gonna do very well operating on their own, and they can hire somebody who wakes up every morning trying to figure out how to get more tourists and heads on beds and Newbern, instead of figuring out how to patch a leak in the convention center and fix a floor that's cracking and update kitchen equipment that's now over 20 years old, et cetera, and then how can I bring some people?
Yeah.
I just think it's a much better model.
That's why we did what we did. Anything else?
that's it, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioners' reports. Commissioner McCabe,
Chairman, I have nothing to report today.
Commissioner Tyson.
Just real quick, I'm gonna state some obvious statistics, and I will do so probably every meeting that I'm on until I am no longer on this board. The latest statistics I saw were 72,000 drug overdoses in 2017. Close to half of those were heroin and heroin derivatives, fentanyl, et cetera. Most of which is coming across our southern border. And an awful lot of that is coming from our friends China. Also, here's another statistic that I learned in Nashville. It was that in the mid-60s, the population of the United States was approximately 150 million people. At that time, there were 500,000 inpatient mental beds. Today, with 330 million people, there are approximately 45,000 inpatient mental health beds. Approximately 50%, I've seen higher, I've seen lower, of inmates in our prisons and or jails are there because of drug addiction or mental health problems. And at a time when we see our congressman up in Washington, D.C. fighting over what I consider, a lot of people consider petty issues, we have an awful lot of people that are dying every day of drugs, almost 200. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyson. Commissioner Sampson.
Yes, I'd like to say, we had a very interesting program on Saturday. I was not able to attend. They gave the history of J.T. Barber, who was the principal of we call it West Street High when I was gone. But it was, he's the one that began that school out there. He did an outstanding job. I was going to school out there while he was there. And it was one of the hardest time in New Bern area that I can remember when we had the colored school on West Street. Of course, I began my classes over there in the Dupperfield School. A lot of people don't even know about the Southern School. Back there when I was going to school, that's where I did my most of my elementary school there. And they had a great crowd out there, and they had a lot of history concerning J.T. Barber. And they really did an outstanding job on that program, from what I can understand. My wife was able to attend, but I was not. I wanted to go, but I had other commitments that I needed to attend to. And that's what it's all about, working together and keeping our history strong. Don't forget about your history, then you forget where you're going. And I always thought like that, and I feel like if we continue to work together, New Bern gonna be one of the greatest cities, I believe, in North Carolina. It might be, so it'll be the best in the United States. I know Craven County is a thriving county, and we already on board the moving mountains and being an example for other counties. And I'll also like to say about our reentry program. Our reentry program is doing outstanding, and same as Ypsilanti, not only doing well here, but other counties are looking to Craven County for guidance. Because even up there, I believe it was in one of the, up there around Raleigh, in that area, one of the programs had to close down because the funds had gone. So I believe we made the right decision, and I believe we're gonna help this drug problem out quite a bit, giving people jobs, we want jobs, and giving them training that they can handle these jobs, and putting money in the pocket so they can pay their own bills. We don't have to pay them. And I believe we're on the right track, and I'd like to say, Greg Singleton has done an outstanding job. Young man, real dedicated, and you know how to get along with people, and that's a great opportunity that he has, how he can get along with different types of people in different kinds and different areas. And he's dedicated, he loves people, and sincere about what he's doing. And I think we did an outstanding job when we employed him firsthand to try and work with this program with us. That's all I have.
Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got two things today that may take a little time, if the chairman will allow. First, I will maybe take the simplest of the two. If you follow agriculture at all, you've likely seen news from around North Carolina that a number of nuisance lawsuits that were filed against Smithfield Food subsidiary Murphy Brown have resulted in three multi-million-dollar verdicts in favor of the plaintiffs. Many of the operations targeted in these lawsuits have been in existence for years and were not violating any state or federal statutes. This has sent shockwaves throughout North Carolina and the country, and is particularly concerning to agricultural operations who wonder whether they will face this type of action. 26 lawsuits have been filed by hundreds of plaintiffs who live near hog farms that contract with Murphy Brown. In the state of North Carolina, there are around 9 million hogs on nearly 2,300 hog farm operations. Iowa is the only other state with more hogs, showing an inventory of about 21.8 million in 2017. Having said all this, 3 lawsuits have gone through the court system. As I said, 26 lawsuits were filed, so many more to go. Our state legislature, under the direction of Senator Brent Jackson from Sampson County, our own Senator Norman Sanderson here from Craven, and several legislators, one being our representative John Bell, who represents us, and also some other Mr. Dixon also from down in Duplin County. Can't think of his first name, but they have stepped up and were supportive of the North Carolina Farm Act of 2018. It was Senate Bill 711 that was introduced. And under this bill, it has a language in it that says that if a person moves to around a hog farm that's already been in existence, they're supposed to be notified of it through the voluntary agriculture districts, which we have here in Craven County, and that they are advocating for across North Carolina, that anytime somebody buys a piece of property now, that it will automatically show up at the Register of Deeds, that, you know, they are purchasing a home, tract of land, whatever, around an agriculture area, and especially around hog farms, poultry farms, turkey farms. With this new legislation that has passed the General Assembly, if I was to put in a new facility, a chicken house or something around Commissioner Liner's home, he would have 1 year to file a nuisance lawsuit against me. But after that 1 year, it would be grandfathered in. He could not. But the existing facilities that we have in the state would be grandfathered in under this Senate Bill 711. There were some that definitely have concerns over the ability to sue because of nuisance. What I will tell this board and the citizens of this county is that all of the grain that is raised here in Craven County, and the majority of it that is raised in the state of North Carolina, goes to animal agriculture. If we do not have hog farms, poultry farms, chicken farms, etc., we have nowhere to sell our grain. And it costs too much to ship it out west to Iowa to get a decent price for it. Having said that, Today, I would like, and I'm not asking for passage today, I'd just like to present it to the board. I do have copies for the board, and I have some extra copies to share with the public also. I think that's enough. Here's a copy here, and the staff wants one. And again, this is a draft resolution. And it says, resolution in support of North Carolina farmers. Whereas agriculture and agribusiness is the #1 industry in the state of North Carolina, contributing $85 billion to our state's economy. And whereas the citizens of this state and county have a food supply that is abundant, affordable, and among the world's safest. And whereas farmers provide the food, fuel, and fiber for our state and our country. And whereas it is estimated that food production must increase by at least 70% by 2050 to meet the growing world food demands. And whereas we are losing farmland at an alarming rate, and it is difficult to recruit and retain farmers willing to work our state's farmland. Now therefore be it resolved that the Craven County Board of Commissioners do hereby support the farmers of Craven County and North Carolina. And be it further resolved that the Craven County Board of Commissioners support the passage of Senate Bill 711 by the North Carolina General Assembly, also known as the North Carolina Farm Act of 2018. If anything's controversial in this resolution, it would be the last paragraph. It would be the one that we support the passage of Senate Bill 711, because there are those in this state that do not support that. I'm going to say this, and I am sincere in saying it. I am thankful for this General Assembly that we have that overrode the governor's veto. If we did not have Senate Bill 711, it would cause even more detrimental concern for agriculture, even though we're in great strides now with what's before us. So, Mr. Chairman, in saying all this, I would like for staff to look over this resolution, and if it would be all right with you and the board to bring it back to us at our next meeting to consider.
Done?
Okay?
If I may ask.
Yes.
You said that there has been some modest opposition to this. It's my understanding that one of our state legislators in this immediate area did vote against it. Michael Speciale.
And George Graham. did
And
also.
George Graham.
Yes, yes.
Can you explain maybe why it is that they would have had a position in opposition?
I think they're concerned about the nuisance side of it and limiting people's ability, and this is my understanding, limiting people's ability to sue because of the nuisance side. That's what was told to me. Now, maybe there are other reasons that, you know, they will, I'm not trying to speak for them, but that's what was shared with me. Again, if you look at the lawsuits that have come about through the state, the majority of the people that are suing came after the hog farms were already there. The hog farms were already established, and they moved in the area. And that is the concern, you know, just like right now, we spread chicken manure on our land. It smells. I mean, you know, you've got 4 or 5 days, it really smells. But it is a way that it builds up the land, number one. Number two, it's a cheap fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
So we see ripple effects continuing. I mean, it's not going to stop with the hog farms. They're going to go to the chicken farms, and they're going to go to the turkey farms.
And they're going to go to the regular.
Yes, yes, that's very true. So, to answer your question, though, I think it's because of the limitation in being able of the nuisance side.
I find that very ironic. Fight
Well,
so hard for the fishermen and
it's
the.
beyond the pale, because the residential property disclosure form that you had to sign when you're buying a piece of property, one of the things it says on there, or do you know of any obnoxious odors or noises or anything like that on there? So the person buying the house,
So if I'm
should
selling a house,
probably, yeah.
if I'm selling a house and I put my house up for sale, I have to disclose if I know if there's something going on in my backyard, or a neighbor. that might have an impact on it?
Yes and no. I mean, Harry does a lot of real estate, but there's a checkbox. Are there any obnoxious odors, noises, et cetera, that would, you know, cause any problems with the buyer of this property? You can check yes, you can check no, or you can check no representation. And if you check no representation, and you know that it is, then you've lied. You know, of course, somebody's got to prove that. But people should be aware
Buyer
of
should.
that by the time they buy something. I don't have a lot of sympathy for somebody that buys a house near a poultry farm or a hog farm, or by a warehouser or something like that, and then complains about it and sues later. That's out of control in my opinion.
Okay.
And thank you for your time
Thank you.
in discussing that. The second thing may take a little time for us as a Board of Commissioners to consider. And in recent weeks, days, we have, as a county, received a lot of publicity about Craven County Animal Services. And we have had, as I've told Jack, and also we talked about on our health board, it's been a perfect storm probably in things that have occurred. There's no need to rehash it. Everybody's read about it in the newspapers and have heard about it on TV. Commissioner Tyson and myself, and I'm not trying to put it on him, I will take responsibility for what, where you don't like it today, I'll take responsibility for it. If you do like it, you join in. But we have had a lot of discussions over the last 2 weeks. The chairman appointed me to serve as your representative on the health board, so I felt that I had a responsibility to try to respond from the health board to this Board of Commissioners and coming up with some realistic ideas on how we can go forth in addressing some of the situations that we have. Commissioner Tyson and myself, I had given you that sheet, came up with the idea of a steering committee. Does everybody have that? And I also have additional copies here that, do you need another one?
I think we're good.
Okay. Here are some additional copies there. I know the Board of Commissioners, and, you know, we appoint committees as a full board. I have made some recommendations here. But I first like to just, before we get into talking about who would serve, but I want to first talk about this committee. It's a 2-page. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
And again, it's the Craven County Animal Services Steering Committee, and this is what, you know, I have wrote down, the purpose of this committee. This committee shall be established by the Craven County Board of Commissioners to formulate recommendations to the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Health. This committee shall consist of 9 members of the public, 2 members of the Craven County Board of Health, and 2 county commissioners who shall serve as co-chairs. This committee is asked to make its recommendations within 45 days from the date of its formation. Objectives, and there are 5. Formulate recommendations to increase the adoption rates amongst both dogs and cats. 2, search for a methodology to increase access to animals that are deemed adoptable. 3, make recommendations for better community involvement inside and outside the Animal Services Program. 4, look for ways to increase visibility using a variety of online, modern practices in relation to animal adoptions. And 5, look for ways to decrease the amount of unwanted animals in Craven County. And just to proceed on, and then the chairman can take it and go with it as he so desires. And I know, and again, please don't, as a Board of Commissioners, take that I'm trying to dominate this board by making recommendations of who shall serve it, because it is your decision. But these are just some recommendations and discussions that, as we've talked, and some ideas have come, and I think Commissioner Tyson has additional people, or you may have any. But I would like to see if you would allow for Commissioner Tyson and myself to be co-chairs of this committee, to facilitate, not to make decisions, but just to facilitate. I feel like that Dr. Natalie Shelton, who's the chair of our Craven County Health Board, she's also a veterinarian, needs to serve. Mr. Dwayne Alligood, He's a member of our health board, a very open-minded individual. He comes from, retired from North Carolina DOT. He really has no stake in, where he's pro or against animals, but he is open-minded. You have on here George Sawyer, but I think Commissioner Tyson has told me this morning that Mrs. Susan Sawyer, who is his wife, he'd like to ask maybe that she serve. Terry Morris, a private citizen, he also has served as chair of a hunting dog association for the county. He's a very bright individual. Mrs. Marjorie Tyker Gonzalez, Tyker as we know her, representing Cruelty in Craven. Dr. Steve Stelma, a veterinarian. Now, it's been brought to my attention that he does not live in Craven County. He does have a business here, so I don't know if the chairman, that may be somebody you don't want somebody to serve that's not living here. And Mrs. Jennifer Knight, as a private citizen, to add to that also. And I'll refer to Commissioner Tyson to continue on with any comments.
Well, been a lot of negative comments made, not just from in the media, but private citizens and all over some time. This is a very difficult department. It comes under the Director of Health. People are more passionate now, and I would say, about animals than they've ever been in my lifetime anyhow. I don't know why that's the case, but I'm sure somebody could probably take a guess at why that might be the case. But at any rate, I thought about this. Jason, I know, has thought about it, and I've tried to think of the downside of having a committee like this. And there's always a downside to everything on the planet. The downside could be you get people that come up with suggestions that's going to cost a tremendous amount of money, and the cost benefit might not be worth it. The ones that I see on here that I know are pretty commonsensical type people, and I don't think that will be the case. We are doing better as a county. We're making big strides percentage-wise on the amount of animals that we're having to put down. We're doing much better. But we still got room to improve on that, quite a bit of room. And I think that a steering committee like this could certainly help out. It's a big county, and with a limited amount of staff that we have, and you could double the size of the staff and it triple it, and it probably wouldn't be big enough to do everything everybody wants. But I think giving the citizens a little bit of voice in this could help with the relationship between the humane societies. There's several, I'm sure, and maybe help get more animals adopted. And I think that would be the goal. And there's no reflection on any of our staff or any department anywhere. I think we're doing a much better job. But we just, at the county manager's suggestion, spent over $1 million, well over $1 million, to increase the capacity of the animal shelter. That has certainly helped. There's a lot of, dangerous, I would say, dangerous type species of dogs. I don't know why they're all popping up more so now than ever before, but you see that certainly in the animal shelter of the pit bull and pit bull mixes and all that, and people don't treat them right and treat them wrong almost intentionally, so they be mean as the devil. So I thought about it long and hard. I think it would be a good idea. Don't see a downside. I think if you keep people on there that love animals, you've got Terry Morris. He loves animals, but he gives a little bit of a different angle on it. He's has a lot of hunting dogs, and so you'll see the hunting aspect of it. You have veterinarians. You've got citizens at large. I think you've got Piker Gonzalez, you know, that's her passion. I think it'll be good cross representation. If it doesn't do the goal of trying to help prevent putting more animals down, then I'm not sure it'll be a success, and you'll see that, I think, and it might take a couple of years. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if
Commissioner
possible, if the board's acceptable of this agreement, I'd like to put another name on there if possible, if she's willing to serve, and that's Miss Mitchell. If set on that as a at-large or private citizen.
Thank you, Commissioner Weiner, I would appreciate that, yes, I'd be willing to serve. If I may also make a comment, Dr. Stelma is president of the North Carolina Veterinary Association, has a long family association with Eastern North Carolina, his wife is a vet. He vets in North Carolina are the Newbern police dogs, and he served as an advisor for the Newbern, new animal ordinance. He was an extraordinary help, and I highly recommend it.
And Mr. Chairman, I would also, something that came to mind also, and I think this may need to come from you, as chair, we probably need to have law enforcement representation, to serve there somehow or another. And, but I would refer to you, Mr. Chairman, to, maybe make that recommendation and suggestion.
First of all, thank you very much for all this hard work, commissioners. I think that the community is well served by this, this idea. The things that I'm kind of thinking through right now are more the mechanics. Obviously, it's appointing a steering committee. I'm just going through our bylaws right now to make certain that we can appoint a steering committee. What sorts of governmental attributes would this possess? Will it obviously fall under the open meetings laws? Are there certain notices of those sorts of things that have got to come into play here? Just some of those mechanical things that I'm concerned with. I think that the idea itself is outstanding. So I just want to, if I could, I'd like to ask the staff if you can give us a little bit of guidance on those questions.
So, yes, sir. The steering committee would be something that would be the prerogative of this board to create. It has no real authority other than making recommendations. It's not an advisory board. It's not something that's going to yield any type of power other than what's on the paper they submit when they're finished with their work. What Commissioner Jones, I think, was getting at is the direction here needs to be steered. I mean, we need to figure out how we're going to start tackling some of these larger issues. And I think, I see Scott in the back. Mr. Silverthorne said something to Scott and I the other day. Animal issues have transitioned. You used to worry about protecting people in animal control. You know, rabies control, dangerous dogs, stray animals. We've now gone to a protection of animal philosophy, and that's a change. That's a shift in how counties and cities have looked at animals over a long time. And our shift has came over the last 2 years. You've seen us focus more on increased shelter space, cruelty investigators, things like that. So I think the steering committee can provide some really good thoughts and the objectives. I think it's important to have objectives. If you don't agree with these objectives, you need to change it now before they meet, because you want to give them something concrete that they can recommend things that will be actionable back to you. It will require notice. It will be a public meeting. I mean, this is an entity of this body. I would recommend that Scott's staff, since animal control falls under health, they be responsible for that notification. Scott, work with Nan to make sure she knows when you're meeting, but let them be the administrator of the committee.
Is that acceptable to the authors?
And I think Scott's staff will do a good job making sure that notice is there. I do like the time sort of window. However, based on it sort of being a governmental entity, I think 45 days may be a little short. I think 60 might be better, Commissioner Jones,
Fine.
board. Quite frankly, I think you're going to need about 2 or 3 meetings, and you'll need staff in the middle to do some research for you, so you're going to have a little time staggered. And I don't know when the first one you'd want to have. Maybe that's something the board can kind of set a target date of when it would meet the first time, and we can kind of lay a schedule out and let you know how that works. Did I hit everything you asked?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd have the county attorney at the first one, so he
The
can
only-
give some advice.
The
on-
only other issue that I guess I have, and I don't know that it is triggered here, but I am mindful of the fact that we do have a limitation on the appointment of individuals to no more than 2 boards. I don't know if any of these folks would trigger anything like that. Moreover, I don't know if this would qualify as a regular board, but that's the only thing that
We have to verify for this board.
okay. Other than that, no, I'm good. I was just, my concerns were mostly mechanics.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think this is a good idea, that we would take into consideration what is going on with our animals in our community. But I also would like to bring up another fact that I've been talking about quite often. I even tried to get the city and the county to come together and try to do something for the homeless in our community, the people who don't have anywhere to stay in this bad weather. We had people sitting out on the porches and under the bridges. And I think we need to think about this and try to come together and make sure we try to get, even if we have to promote a place for humans to live together, if the city and the county can come together and we have a place, because right now I know out there to the soup kitchen in that area, they built a few more beds, but I know they didn't have about 13 out there. And that's for the whole other counties, anybody to come in this, come in North Carolina, they could live in this place. So I think we should be thinking about this, trying to find a place that we could offer shelter for people coming into the county and also people who living in the county. I see people all in cars and under the bridges. Anybody, sometimes they'll come sit on your porch. So I think this is something that we need to think about along with trying to find a place for animals, because I can understand people love animals. I call little grandson animal that come over to the house, he act like he owned the place. But they're nice to have, and I know people love them, and we should provide a safe place for them and make sure they're taken care of. I don't think nobody need an animal who gonna just let them run the street. Because personally myself, I'm afraid of these bulldogs. I don't trust them. And there's a lot of them running loose around in New Bern, I know. But I'm in agreement 100%.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, the only thing I should have mentioned, we will need to know whether the two chairs will be voting or non-voting members of the group.
Mr. Chairman, the way I saw it, we would just facilitate. I do not see us as, I don't think we need to make them recommendations.
So you'd have 8 voting members at the count I have right now, which would be the ones Commissioner Jones provided on the list, except George Sawyer going to Susan Sawyer, and then Jennifer Knight, private citizen, and E.T. Mitchell, private citizen. That's a total of 8 voting members. Sometimes, you know.
You got one law enforcement possibility.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting point, because you don't really have any objectives that deal with law enforcement. Your objectives are mainly inside the animal shelter and animal care and adoption. I mean, and I think in the enforcement side, a lot of, I mean, you know, so much of that's law and whoever's enforcing it. So you're gonna see a multitude of different ordinances across the county. What the city of New Bern has and what Craven County has are gonna be completely different things. Same with Havelock. So you're gonna get a variety of.
So members should be advised that they should really look out for these things and ask staff to assist with checking with law enforcement
I think you
officials.
can see how it goes and see if you need to add somebody. If you get down that path with this group and an issue comes up, I think it's easy for this group to come back and add a person.
Mr. Chairman, if you go by the stated the purpose of the committee and how we've outlined the committee, I mean, we're asking for 9 members of the public and 2 members of the Craven County Board of Health. So that's to be a total of 11. With Commissioner Tyson and myself, we would be in addition, but we're not going to be voting. We facilitate. And so what I'd like to ask to do, if it was all right with the board, is to allow the chairman to, we need to go ahead and get this committee on the ball and working. I personally think that we do need to look at the law enforcement side, but I'd like to ask the board just to leave it to the chairman to work with the county manager in addressing the additional members, if you see fit, if you can think there's a need of them. And if any of the commissioners have extra nominees, to present it to the chairman, but give him the authority to put the rest of these individuals on this committee.
Mr. Chair, Jason, is there any way that, on the steering committee, that I can have somebody from District 5 be on this? Because there's nobody on there.
Right. And that's what I would say is, if the board would allow, you make that recommendation to the chair and let him take it into consideration.
Thank you.
I think the key is, are you gonna cap the number at something? 'Cause that'll be something the chair will need to know.
Well, if you go by,
Your
if you go by this, we're saying the cap number at 9 members of the public, in which you already have 2 from the Board of Health. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you would need, if you went by this list, so you would need 3.
Yeah, okay, I see, you got 3.
You follow me?
Yeah, I got it. I was counting the Board of Health in the number. Got it.
Because I see, I don't mean to keep on, but I see the Board of Health being, they're gonna make recommendations, but I think they're gonna also be somewhat like Commissioner Tyson and myself and sitting back and listening, because they're gonna be a part of implementing it. I mean, we're gonna take, this information is gonna go back to them also, so I think it would be good for them, though, to be a part, add what they can add, but when we go to sit around the table at the Board of Health also, they will be able to take the information back. So, would you entertain a motion?
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Craven County Board of Commissioners form the Craven County Animal Services Steering Committee with the purpose stated on this sheet, and that this committee is asked to make its recommendations within 60 days from today's date. And then I will also add in that, I'd already said that you have a list of nominees here, and that the chairman be given the authority to appoint the remaining 3 nominees upon recommendations that may come from the board.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? You guys have it. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Liner.
Sir, thank you, and hate to tell you this, but I'm probably gonna be just as long. I've got a couple things I need to bring up. The chair, some months ago, assigned me to a committee, myself, Commissioner McCabe, Commissioner Jones, to look at the Havelock and the Harlow fire departments as far as responses in Harlow and as far as funding for Havelock. We've looked at it, we've had some numbers, we've had some figures brought up that's more than glad to look and share with the board. And the manager has the whole listing and everything we got. I would like to ask this board, based on the recommendation of the 3 of us, that we direct the county manager to look at a feasibility cost analysis to set up a voluntary EMS with the fire department in Harlow, and also look at the cost feasibility study to stand up a first responders unit in the Harlow district, to give us something to compare cost and funding for those 2 areas. Based on that, it will give us a better understanding of how to proceed with the Havelock's commitment that they have.
Right.
So that is one area, if this board would be in agreement to have the staff do that.
Thank you, George.
Okay.
Do you need anything formal?
No.
Okay.
Let me just make sure, so you wanna see it both in volunteer EMS house with house with the fire department, and then just a paramedic, first responder program, non-transport?
Yes,
Got it.
yes. More of a response there that can do something until they get there.
Got it.
Yeah, the first responder.
Yeah.
Second thought, I think everyone has read their package, I know they have, but I don't think the public is aware of this and needs to. I want to congratulate the staff, and particularly Jeff Futrell, our VA representative and handles our VA issues here. We've had a bumper year this year. We've increased services over last year by 29% of what we've seen as far as cases, both phone calls and walk-ins for this community. These are some stats I want to give you. We rank number 8th in the state for population of vets, and that's 16,383 vets in Craven County, 8th in the state. We rate 7th in the state for growth in Craven County, that we're moving up of how many that come in. We're average somewhere between 12.5 to 15% annually growth of vets coming into the area. We rank 3rd in the state per capita, and that's 15.8% of vets in the county. We rate 10th in the state for VA expenditures coming into this county, which covers compensation, pension, education, health, and insurance at a tune of $136,559,000 a year. We rate 7th in the state for VA expenditures for strictly compensation and pension at a tune of $96,394,000. So I want to thank this board for its big picture, looking at what the vets do for this community and for what this board did years ago by stepping up and making the vet organization an organization that we can all be proud of. I think everyone realized location, 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 and when we moved that location, we grew. And we've shown that, and I think in your package, you've seen another letter of appreciation that was sent by a satisfied customer.
Saw that.
He's doing a tremendous job, and we should all be proud. Now, this next thing I have here, I'm not proud of, but I think it needs to be done, and I think I need to make this board aware of what I'm doing because you may be getting some feedback. As everybody is aware, within the past 2 weeks, the Craven County school system received a grant from the state to put in SRO officers at 4 elementary schools.
Right.
Let me read this letter that I'm getting ready to go out with. To the residents of Havelock, being both a citizen of Havelock and Craven County resident, I take no pleasure in writing this article. You may or may not know that Craven County School System received a grant to provide 4 additional SRO school resource officers. It is noteworthy that one of the funded locations would be Roger Bell Elementary School in the city of Havelock. This funding, along with the city's assistance, could now provide an additional school within the city limits that would reap the positive benefits of an SRO program. However, it was disappointing to learn on the 16th of August, 2018, that the Havelock Board of Commissioners elected not to participate in this public safety for grades K to 5th grade children. It was their decision that the city of Havelock was already supplementing funds for the 3 SROs already at the 2 middle schools and Havelock High School, and felt it was not prudent to fund an additional school, Roger Bell Elementary. That does not have an SRO program. I agree that Havelock is supporting additional costs needed for the 3 SROs that is not covered by the North Carolina State Legislature, and applaud their public commitment level to those 3 schools which are SRO covered by the city. But how about extending an SRO funding partnership commitment to all students and teachers learning, working, and sometimes residing in the city? By not being consistent, what safety measures are elected officials sending to our surrounding military and civilian communities? The SRO funding provided has been the same for approximately 15 years. Havelock is not alone in this. The city of New Bern, as well as the county, picks up the bill to the program that exceeds state funding. When can anyone, let alone city elected officials, prioritize cost over human life, in particular student lives? As elected officials, we are all charged with being good stewards of taxpayer money. One would think that a child's safety, especially within a municipal corporate limits of public safety responsibility, would be at the top of everyone's list. If you believe it cannot happen in our area, then you are mistaken. It has happened in small districts and in large, in small schools and in large schools. Some will argue that an elementary school is not the place for an SRO. However, I am of the opinion to disagree. We need to start at the elementary level for students to develop and grow their knowledge that a law enforcement officer is a friend, leader, educator, and most importantly, men and women who will protect us from danger. It is also believed that interaction at this early age can help prevent behavior problems in the middle and high school years. Additionally, it is believed that our society needs to help give young children positive exposure to law enforcement. Parents, teachers, and children must feel that they are in a safe environment, that everything possible is being done to ensure that their concerns are being met. We as a community must relay these concerns to all elected officials, that safety cannot be overlooked and funding cannot and should not be the driving factor in the decision making. A statement was made by Havelock that by participating in the SRO program, the city was subsidizing Craven County citizens and the Craven County schools by providing additional funding. The residents of Havelock are Craven County citizens, and an additional SRO funding partnership is both a safety and quality of life program we both benefit from. The city of New Bern and the county provide additional funding to support the school resource officers as well. Is this the school's fault? No. The state set the rate approximately 15 years ago and has not increased it. I ask, would you rather see the school system take funding from the teachers or classrooms to make up the difference? I believe that each community with local SROs get a benefit from the relationship built with the students. The SRO knows the students and the students knows the SROs. Also, a student who feels safe has a better learning environment. I am sure we all want the best for our students. Please contact your elected officials if you think safety is a priority. However, it should be noted that providing supplemental funds for Roger Bell Elementary School SRO program would not significantly take away from the amount of reserve general funds that the city of Havelock builds up each year. Respectfully, George Liner, City of Havelock residents, former City of Havelock Commissioner, Craven County Commissioner, District 6. Like I say, I take no pleasure, but I feel strongly on the subject. This is gonna go out. You may receive some calls from that. I wanted to let you know what I was doing, and if I caused you any heartaches, I apologize now, but it's something that politically, it's not gonna bother me. Whatever they wanna do is fine, but this has gotta be important to me as an individual and not as a public figure or an elected official. I think everybody needs to stand up for this. This is wrong. We can't force the state. The state, our local officials have done what they can. We are standing up. We have stood up for the last 4 years that I've been on this board. We all have ownership of our kids. All of our kids, not our own personal kids, but all our own kids. We've got to have that, so I thank you for indulging me.
Certainly.
Can I update you on that
Yes, sir.
grant? I spoke with both the sheriff and Dr. Doyle last week. We'll be bringing a proposal based on what Commissioner Liner described in Havelock for the county. J.W. Smith was awarded one of these SR positions. I've got the cost for you. We'll have it on your next agenda for approval. Dr. Doyle will be here to give you the brief along with the sheriff. So we're moving forward. The rub will be, and I mean, certainly Commissioner Liner stated his opinions there. If Havelock doesn't reverse their decision or this stays on the record, the only other law enforcement agency with countywide jurisdiction is the sheriff to pick up this school. So whatever I was planning on bringing you on September the 4th will now be double if we have to include that school. Dr. Dole's already approached me about it. I think she's ready just to have an answer, since she's gotten an answer from Havelock from us. If you can give me any direction, if you want me to, hopefully Havelock will reconsider, but if not, do you want me to bring you the whole shebang?
Well, let me ask this, if I may, and I may be wrong in my understanding, but it was my understanding that there were 2 elementary schools that would fall under county jurisdiction that fall outside the boundaries of a municipality. Is that accurate, or is it just one?
There's 3.
There are 3, okay. So we would be receiving a grant to cover one of those 3?
They applied for 4, and one of those is in the county.
Okay. And have we made the determination that the other 3 that are within the county, that application, I guess, had not been made for, was the reason that we just didn't expect that there was gonna be a need to cover them? And how is it that we, and I don't mean to make this difficult for us.
Sure. No, I can.
But how is it that we can say, unless there's some assessment that's been conducted, that these schools should receive the SROs and these schools are not in need?
Gotcha. So the schools applied. That was who was the legislature put to apply for the schools. They did. The school system applied. And they used some methodology related to discipline issues. And they picked these 4 schools, and obviously it was the first time the grant had ever been offered, so they went with 4. That was the number they picked. I don't know why, but they picked the highest 4 schools on a disciplinary issue. And there was one more criteria, and I'm sorry, it's legally.
Distance related to,
Distance related, yeah, correct, that's right. So that was the 2 things.
Distance related to what?
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement?
Law enforcement.
Okay, so, all right, so we can say with a calm heart that we're not leaving the schools behind. It's just that an assessment has been done by the school districts. It's not our judgment that we're leaving them without protection. We believe that they have protection available to them within close proximity, and that the necessity for them to have an SRO has not been identified just yet.
I'm not sure. I think they'd like to have them in all schools, sir, but I think they just went for this because there was money available. The sheriff has, when I met with him last week, has provided me a proposal to add those other 2 schools in, which would be Princeton and Bridgeton, the other 2 county schools. He has got that forward. I wanted to deal with the grant first and then have him introduce this subject to you. There is a bit of another issue, is that you do have elementary schools in smaller jurisdictions. Okay, Vanceboro Farm Life would be one, Bangor would be another. How those get dealt with will be an issue. New Bern has, I believe, 5 elementary schools, and then there's another
we got
3 in
3 more
Havelock.
3 more in Havelock.
So, it's a rather large scope to this thing, depending on how it goes.
Well, and I think if I may, Mr. Chairman, if I may bring up more information on that. I talked with leadership over the weekend as well, particularly John Bell, and got some issues. This amount of money was put in for this 1 year. You know as well as I do, better than any of us. They could not obligate any additional funding for the out years. This is their top priority for the long session. He sees them expanding this as far as funding and a possibility of all schools having SROs. So it's not something that was looked at casually from our legislators. I think everybody on board. We had some that didn't vote for it, but it was a small minority. But since this is year 2 of a 2-year budget, that's all they could get into it. But he sees this expanding for the next long session in November and going further and probably expanding the actual cost of that, going through it more.
So they're providing about 49,000.
49, they're
Our grant.
49.5.
49.5.
Each.
And you know, roughly, just off the top of my head, please don't hold me to it, it's about 70,000 total to bring that officer in. So we're gonna pick up about $20,000 in year one. If the grant funding goes away, you're looking at the salary and benefits, because you're gonna buy a car about every, 6 years roughly, gun, and, those things are a one-time cost. You'll just have salary and benefits revolving, but if the grant keeps coming, then,
Okay.
certainly have that opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Lang, thank you. Okay, first of all, I'd like to let the people in the viewing audience know that we've had the honor of having two candidates for county office here today. E.T. Mitchell, thank you very much for coming today and spending time with us, and the candidate for sheriff, Chip Hughes, is also here. I want to thank you both for your willingness to spend time with us to learn more about the affairs of Craven County. Number 2 on my little list here, we've got the NCAA, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners meeting coming up here. And I know a number of us have had the opportunity to see the two folks who are vying for the second vice chair speak at the NACO meeting. I wondered if there was any desire on this board's part of maybe giving some direction to the person who's going to be casting our ballot in support of the second vice chair as to how we would feel about it. I will tell you, I've got a big level of appreciation for the work that Frank Williams has done. I've served for the last number of years on the legislative panel with him in developing activities for our legislative agenda, and he's just an exceptionally competent individual. He's from New Hanover County. He currently serves, I believe, as their chairman. Another person who's running, Dan Brummel from Vance County, is also running, and I just wondered if we wanted to provide any direction or assistance.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've known Frank ever since I've been on this board, since he's moving up and everything else, so. Frank is out there. Frank has put himself out there. He's at all of the meetings, national and the local, everything else. My support would be behind Frank Williams.
Do the other commissioners have any thoughts on this at all?
Well, I did not attend the National Association. I'm not gonna attend the state, so I'm gonna take myself out of the discussion because I don't know.
I'm trying to find out which to switch. I met both candidates, and I don't know who's who. Who's Frank? Because we all know we got some feedback behind that. That's one of the reasons why we brought it up.
Okay.
All right, and you're supporting Frank Williams.
That would be my preference, yes.
Is he the one that made the allegation, complaint?
I don't know about any allegation or complaints.
All right, I just want to find out.
I mean, I can show you a picture of the guy, I guess, but.
Can I see a picture of him, please?
And for the viewing public's knowledge, I believe that.
Because something came back from the trip that we went to up in Tennessee, and it wasn't correctly said. I want to straighten this mess out. Get my desk on, make sure he's the right one.
Commissioner Daisy.
Yes, sir.
Frank is from Brunswick County.
Forgive me,
Committee.
yes, Brunswick, not New Hanover. Loading.
What are you looking for, an image?
He wanted to see a picture of him.
He's Frank?
Yeah, that's Frank.
Well, that's the one
That you've got some concerns with?
yeah.
Okay, well then why don't
Because
we,
he made a little,
okay,
we
we'll
discuss it
just,
later.
well, I guess there's not enough interest then in having direction, so we'll work it out.
okay.
Okay, on August the 30th, from 4 until 5 o'clock, I will be holding a town hall meeting here in this room. And Nan, I need to talk to you about that, but I'll be doing that from 4 until 5 o'clock on August 30th. And if you need any information, I will be updating my website, scottdacey.com, about that. And then finally, I would just ask the members of this board and the public to join me in offering a prayer for Chairman Tom Mark as he is recuperating from some recent surgery, and hope he's doing well. I did speak to him yesterday, but I think prayers are in order here. Thank you very much. So with that, unless there's any other business,
Make a motion?
motion.
Okay.
To adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Thank you very much.